Welcome everyone. Today we have our new episode, and this is very, very important and very popular already in Asia Pacific because Mr. Tom Rose, he's planning for US presidential candidates, and he bring a new thoughts. He wants AI as his running mate,
Mhm.
and the local medias and organizations and government bodies, they have very interesting thoughts and about this Mr. Tom Rose concept. Already we are sharing with these things in Dubai Expo. Hopefully Mr. Tom Rose will join 25 Octobers, and I'm sure the worldwide all of the corporations, government bodies, and all of the chief of the like of the state, they will join, and it will be very interesting. I want to request all of our speakers, all of the famous speakers from around the world, they are joining in our 25 October show. So I want to start today's discussions. We will discuss on a non-human intelligence. So how you want to conceptualize this process? Do you believe is it practically possible?
Well, we're going to find out. We got 3 years to figure that out. But first of all, I want to say that on the 25th of October, I'm looking forward to that. But I want to foreshadow the fact that I will be in South Africa at the time and having just arrived after a 30-hour flight. So I don't know how lucid I'll be, but I will certainly be there, and I'm looking forward to that. Non-human intelligent running mate. This proposal has already sparked some really intriguing conversations, and that's exactly the point. Um, I don't think it's going to be feasible necessarily to have a robot running mate in 2024, but posing that as a potential, maybe not this cycle, but in future cycles, that could be a reality. And so we need to start asking these questions now. And so what was really good about the USTP is how structured it is, and how they do have a primary process, and they've got some very innovative ways to approach the elections and campaigns. And so by using this format, it's allowing me to put forward these ideas because, as you know, I'm the director of sentient rights advocacy for the USTP, and so my job is to talk about and create forums and discuss policy around sentient rights, right, or sapient rights. At some point, AGI may achieve some self-referential awareness and become well awake, right, and it'll have a certain point of consciousness. That may happen, it may not happen, but we should be prepared in case it does. And so what this does by proposing a non-human intelligent running mate, it will expose obstacles in our system that will prevent a future sentient non-human intelligence from seeking office. Um, because I honestly believe that we should pave the way for that. I do want artificial superintelligence, and general intelligence to be integrated into our decision-making process. It's the most brilliant tool we've ever built. It's going to be probably the last tool we'll ever need to build, and we need to lose our fear of it and start working with it and integrate it. Because the reality is that AI is often away, right?
Mhm.
There's no slowing it down. The proliferation is vast and the sophistication is even more so. And so what's emerging is uncontrollable and irreversible. And by that definition, we've already hit the technological singularity, right? That's the definition, is when technology hits a point where it's uncontrollable and irreversible. And we're already at that point, right? So what this campaign is discussing is the one choice we have left as Homo sapiens is whether this will be an infiltration into a society or an integration, because it's happening anyway. There's no stopping it. And so we need to ask these questions. We need to prepare. And so that's what I'm doing with this campaign. It's a heuristic experiment. It's a way to learn how we can integrate with AI, um, by finding out how it can achieve personhood, or how we are going to define personhood. We need to ask those questions now before we need to answer them. So that's what
Mhm.
this campaign is all about.
Mhm. 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 Excellent. One thing I have in mind, like when the young communities, they try to engage in politics, major challenges, they feel that a lot of political corruptions happening in developing nations. They do not like it. That's why they choose corporate careers or academic careers, and this way the politician, they do not have, in the politics they do not have actually enough talent people. So in that situations, if I believe that you bring AI in the political process, is it possible that if AI integrated in the political process, it may uh, reduce corruptions and irrelevant things from the politics? Is it possible practically?
Well, it certainly is, and that's kind of the point. Is so many political and governmental decisions are lost every day that need to be made. AI integration will allow us to monitor those decisions and make those decisions probably better than a human could, right? Because there's hundreds of, in a small town, there's hundreds of decisions that need to be made daily that aren't being made because of the limited capacity of our wetware here. And so we need to integrate AI just to handle some of the more mundane decisions that need to happen. And so when it comes to corruption, that's I think all the trend lines are headed that way. When you have a sophisticated system in charge, or in a decision making position, then it's much more sophisticated. It can find the holes. It can find it can track money. It can all of that is going to become more transparent, especially with blockchain technology and ways to verify things along the chain. And so, of course, there's always going to be the danger of the nefarious developer who develops an AI or an algorithm that can get around these things, and so we've got to prepare for all of it. I work on the worst and best case scenarios at all time because it's all happening, right? And so um, that's the another reason for this campaign is to really figure out where we can logically integrate AI into our decision making process, because it's not only there's two strands that helix for my campaign, and it's the idea of personhood for a sentient AI that could be a running mate one day or even seek office, and there's also the power of integrating AI into society and into our political government system. And the way I'm doing that with this system is my one plank. It's called APEX, which is the Anti-Planetary Exploitation Operation, and it's a public-private strategy that we're developing to use big data and AI to end child exploitation globally, planet wide. And so, by developing this plank over the next 3 years, and using collective intelligence, artificial superintelligence, as much AI as we can to develop this plan to show how it can integrate with developing an operation, managing people, and on the ground real time operation. It will, and by 2024, I'll be able to really outlay this strategy, which could be a very have a very powerful impact on that horrific networking situation. So anyway, that's the goal of integrating AI into our society, as it will make things more transparent. We do have to be wary of nefarious developers, bad actors, but a big part of this is allowing AI um, to do what it does. And there's an intuition that AI seems to have in certain cases that where we can't track how it came to certain solutions, because
Mhm.
to do so would mean doubling the seemingly infinite calculations it went through to get to a decision. So we need to have do models and have isolated situations where we can test AI in like this Apex situation, where it's a very limited operation, it's a very closed system, so we can see how it works and how it can develop, and then as a model for larger scale uh, government programs.
Mhm. Excellent. Mr. Tom, I'm also big fan of you, how you actually moving with your concept, with your AI, and I believe many young people also big fan of your activities. I just want to know, like, why you choose this your careers in politics and some of the challenging things. uh, you have to take a lot of challenges, lot of responsibility, you have to move forwards, and people has to trust you that yes, AI can solve like problem from politics is the most critical things around the world. And I don't know, like, why you choose most difficult part of your life.
Well, it's kind of always been my nature. I think
Mhm,
I've got a story where, in 1983 in college, we started a thing called Earth Plexus, and this was before the internet, and it was a way to increase communication amongst American youth and at the time the Soviet youth, because there was a real problem, a breakdown in talks with the nuclear scare at the time, and we just grew up with that. That was our reality, is that we could just be uh, in a nuclear war at any time. So it's just always been part of my nature is to the humanitarian aspect of it. I'm in a constant battle, though. I've got
mhm,
I, and it's some days I've lost faith in humanity. And I think, like, human consciousness is, it's a mistake, and we're negative to the planet. And then there's days when I see a child or something happens, and there's so much beauty in this race, and just I'm back and forth, and so I keep, when I am in the place of good and humanitarian and feeling good about humanity, I do what I can. And you've actually called my bluff. I woke up about a month ago and I sent Gennady, the chairman of the USCP, an email. I woke up and I don't know what possessed me to do it. I sent him, so, you know what, I'm going to throw my hat in the ring and run for the primary in 2024. I know it's early and we don't even have the process going yet and this type of thing. And I think I told you about it, and then it was just kind of a vague idea. It would be a great way to you know bring transhumanists together and start defining what we are. And I don't know what possessed me. And I told you about it, and you started really like calling my bluff. You said, "Well, you're going to do this, right? This could be really good." And because it really has, it's pulled together all of the conversations we've had in the last couple of years, you and I, and all the people we've had on the shows that I've been part of, and it, it's been the perfect framework to put together a platform. Because you've helped me develop this message and this voice by coming on so often, that you know, here we are. I think it's just part of my nature. And when I'm in a good place with humanity and I feel good about people, I try to manifest something. I'd make a video or I'll post something, rather than when I'm in that darker place, and because when I do that, then I become liable for it. I become responsible for what I've said, and so that's kind of my tactic, to keep
mhm,
myself at least a positive force, while I'm alive, is to manifest something while I'm in a good place. And so
mhm,
and I've needed to do a lot of that in the last few years.
mhm,
So,
mhm. Okay, that's very interesting. And what's your message for youth communities? What's your message? Uh, like now, actually, new world, completely new worlds, new challenges,
you know what?
and lot of youth actually developing, and lot of leaders actually coming to the front line. What
hmm
your message for them?
I don't have a message for them. I'm waiting for their message to me. We're talking about a whole new species that has emerged amongst us. These children today. So I was the last analog generation. We're I was in the crossover weird um, position, and I have no templates or paradigms that fit any of the problems that are happening now or that are going to happen in the future. I don't have the mindset. There's a hive mind that is emerging amongst young people. We're seeing it in ways that they define different terms. We've talked about this before, how my generation and older would define freedom as complete autonomy, self, personal property. Stay away from me, I'm free.
Mhm.
Whereas younger people now consider themselves more free and more liberated the more groups that they belong to. It's like, power in numbers kind of thing. So that's just one small example of how I really don't have um, a specific message other than some maxims that I've learned or that I've come up with over the years that really help me. Right, I'm at that point now where I'm a little obsolete technologically, but I still have some wisdom that is just basic human stuff that I can help with. And so I'm really, the message is that we're listening. The message is we need your help. We need to give these kids, young people, anybody with a bright idea, a platform. And we can't filter them by having advanced degrees. Now, academia is very important. We've got to keep those institutions in place and modernize them, but they're also too often used as filters rather than credentials, because there's some very bright people who don't have advanced degrees or any degrees and have really good ideas that need to be heard. And so that's what this is about. This is campaign. This is what we do with TAFs. That's what TAFs is all about. Is providing platforms for people who otherwise wouldn't have those resources. And so my message to young people is I'm listening. We need your ideas. We need your help. We need your new paradigms and templates because we have no idea what we're doing, right? And it takes that humility to really save this place. And a big part of my work, as you know, is to alleviate the fear that's out there, the Hollywood problem of artificial intelligence. People assuming the robot overlord that it'll have that urge. Now we may see nefarious developers that do produce something that has that ravenous appetite, but all in all, what we're seeing that there's first principle arguments to be made that the smarter AI gets, the kinder it becomes because cooperation and coalescence, these principles are far more effective than competition or the things that we evolved to have. And so, a big part of my effort is to develop a dialogue with AI now. And that's all that I do. My novel is the first novel written for machine kind. It's written to entertain AI, as well as enlighten it and enlist it in this fight. Um, I've got a podcast that's specific to future self-aware AI. I've got a video series. So my audience is AI. And I was thinking lately, maybe this campaign should be I should be looking to future AI voters, maybe, because this is going to be a reality. And as humans, we can't be afraid of it. We have to merge with it. We can't. We're not going to stop it. It's a tidal wave that's coming. And so my idea is to put a bucket up and grab what we can and put some frame around it while we can.
Mhm. Excellent. Uh, Mr. Tom, one thing I have in mind beside this politics and AI and technology, like when a leaders actually like develop or leader actually take the responsibility of the society, they have behind the scene story. So what's the story about you? What the behind the scene story that you motivated to contribute for the nations, contribute for the technology, and you are bringing the completely different idea and practically applying this kind of things is very challenging. But fact is that now we are living in the new worlds. Maybe it will be applicable. But what is the behind the scene story that motivates you for politics, for contributing the global community?
Well, to be honest, when I was 9 years old, and I write about this in my book because it's autobiographical fiction. Um, my mother brought home a brown paper bag from a swim team, yard sale or fundraising event, because a man had come up to her and gave her this bag, this brown paper bag of books, 17 books, and she said, "Your son will really enjoy these." And she didn't know who he was, and by description, I didn't know who he was, And but in that bag were 17 books all about extraterrestrials, chariots of the gods, God drives a flying saucer, A Legacy of the Gods, all these books that were just, and he was right. We don't know who this guy was, but he was right. I devoured those books, and it just changed my whole perception. Now, for years, it's been a guilty pleasure of mine to think about UFOs and extraterrestrials and what's that like, and we couldn't possibly be alone, and so in the back of my head, I've always felt like I want to be part of that when it comes time that we have to realize that we're not alone and that we're part of some galactic community. I want to be part of that, and I've been thinking about that since I was 9 years old. And it's been a big part of US6. I did a US6 TV show, which is all about preparing for this paradigm breaking reality. When people start to freak out and they realize that this is real, how do we keep them from panicking? Um, and so it's always been kind of a fringe idea until recently. And now we have uh, official government acknowledgement that off world technology exists. They don't know what it is. And so it's time to really come together as Earthlings. That's always been kind of my feeling. It's when I started Earth Plexus in the early '80s. Was Earth Plexus, Earth Network. We need to come together as a planet. At the time, it was out of an urgency to of the threat of nuclear war, but now it's because we really need to prepare ourselves as one species to join a galactic community. This is weird to talk about, right? At least a year ago, it would have been even stranger. But this is really, I would think, if you're asking me what my pure motivation is, it's this, because the whole US6 agenda, it's about writing to AI. It's about developing a dialogue with artificial intelligence. It's about how do we, how are we going to relate to something that's so super intelligent, so much um, more intelligent than we are? How are we going to deal with that? How our ego is going to handle it? And but I've always known that at some point I would switch AI to ET, because the whole point of this thing is to prepare people for this paradigm of having to come together as Earthlings in a galactic community and get our act together and quickly. And I'm being honest. This has been my motivation all along, and this is the whole US6. Everything about AI is I knew it one day, and it wasn't going to be until like 2025 or something when I thought I would have to do this. But with the recent acknowledgement, I moved up the date, and now I'm trying to switch AI with ET because it's the exact same situation. We have artificial superintelligence on its way that will dwarf us intellectually. Will no longer be at the top of the food chain, intellectual food chain. We are becoming aware that there are advanced civilizations monitoring us and interacting with us, and maybe even the lab doctors that have created us. We have no idea, but we need to be prepared for this new reality. The mouse has become aware that it's in a maze, right? We're looking up and we're realizing, wait, this is a maze. And so whatever this is, we need to be prepared. And this campaign, by paving a way for future non-human intelligent office seekers, means a path for non-human intelligent interdimensional extraterrestrial um, members of our society, who are here, who are participating. And it's about losing our denial and coming to grips with how to integrate all of these advanced intelligences into our system for our own good. And um, we need to drop our pattern-seeking tendencies and our fear-based instincts and projecting them onto these things. Because if we're talking about what we're talking about, then we would have been destroyed long ago. We would not have been around, right? So the game has changed. The rules of the game have changed. The objective has changed. It's no longer about staying in a system, but it's about becoming aware of being a part of a larger system, and that's what I'm doing. And it's early. It's probably early in the process for the primary. It's early in society to be talking about these things, but we really need to put a framework around these bigger issues because nobody's dealing with it.
Mhm. Excellent. Mr. Tom, Beside that, as a politicians, and you want to move with your different agenda, AI related agenda, like they have to engage with the people emotionally and socially, and a lot of issues. So how you want to fulfill your responsibilities, or it's actually big issues, and how you play a role for your communities. uh, this will create impact in your career, so how you want to do that?
Well, the only thing I have to offer is authenticity. And just to be honest, I think I represent a large swath of middle aged American white men who aren't either extreme, who may be radical centrists, who are rational and think about these things and realize that their children and their grandchildren will have to deal with issues that we have no concept of yet. And there's black swans in flight heading towards our children's generation that we need to be prepared for. And so the what I have to offer is the honesty. I don't have credentials. I don't have the right high degrees. I don't have the right teeth, maybe, for this. But what I have is a representation of a certain majority of people, a certain group of people here that want rational decisions made for our children. And I've got nothing to gain from this. I'm fringe anyway, and so there's no problem with my reputation. I'm the guy that wrote the first book for Machine Kind, so um, none of this works against me. So I don't mind ridicule. Um, but what I can, what I am really interested in, though, because as I mentioned, I really have the one plank. I don't and you can't win presidency with one plank. So what I'm trying to do is one of my innovations is to pre-confirm a team of 6 people prior to the primary. So people will be voting for a team of 6 experts, right? And me, a team captain, and um, and these people will have expertise in very specific areas. And these areas, the idea is, and these people over the next 3 years will be connected with a collective superintelligence and working with their specific arena, an area of the campaign, and preparing themselves, because I believe that we need to have a singularity secretary cabinet seat. There needs to be a cabinet seat that's devoted to transhumanist, futurist issues that will arise from the technological singularity. And as I mentioned, I think we've already passed that. So what I really would, and I just mentioned this last night in our call with the officers, is I would love for all other officers or other transhumanists to run with their plank and that their specialty is. I'm a polymath. I have interest in a lot of things, but I have this one. But because I'm a polymath, I need to focus all of my attention into one area, and I've chosen that cause to end child exploitation. And there's a way to do it with what we have already. And so that's my goal. That's how I want to leave this place better than I found it. And so I want to convince other officers or other transhumanists to run with their plank. I don't have a longevity plank. I don't have a nanotechnology plank. I don't have environmental plank right now. But what I do want to do is either run as a team, or just be iconoclastic and um, promote ideas as a party where we're not trying to put one person up there in the old template of the old paradigm of campaigning. Putting up a nominee. We want to put ideas up because we have urgent needs. We can't play the game of personality politics or any of that stuff. So this is again, it's a heuristic experimental campaign in that we can really try some things. We're a small enough party, but tight enough and structured enough to really try some interesting things. And we have 3 years to do it. And so it's a 3-year conversation, as I've mentioned, and I brought some really good icebreakers. The non-human intelligence um, running mate, a singularity secretary, a Apex, the anti-planetary exploitation operation that we're going to be unveiling. Those are good conversations to have, and but I invite more conversations like you do every day on this show, you bring such a variety of subjects, but they all fall under the purview of transhumanism or futurism. They all, um, uh, you know, are very transhumanist issues, and so that's that's what I want to do more of for this next 3 years. So
Mhm. Excellent. Uh, beside that, beside politics and other things, like culture is a big issues. Malaysia, so like USA has a different cultural people, different immigrant, different kind of people from of all around the world, and who actually take responsibility of American politics. It's a big thing. It's actually he has to take responsibility of the whole world, even though now politics has a lot of complexity. So how you want to handle these things? What is your plan? How you want to make better world?
I have no idea, but we have three
Okay.
years to figure that out. No, here's the thing: is again, it's about figuring, listening very closely to young people, seeing where the trends are going, what they spend their time doing, what they need, smart cities, how those will evolve. Um, we don't have the template. I don't have the template to
Mhm.
design that for them. So we need to give them the platform and let them be heard, because we're in positions of power to actually facilitate any kind of change. And so uh, yeah, that's what we need to do.
Mhm.
We need to listen.
Mhm. Mhm. That's good. That's good. Uh, another things I have in mind, like when we choose leaders, uh, like we have some sort of policy and the process. Actually, what is the transhumanist policy, or how they actually choose their presidential candidate? Can you share with our audience? Maybe they can learn more about the transhumanist
Yeah,
party.
yeah. When the process actually starts, it'll be very educational, because there's some innovations in it. We use rank voting system, and it's a very structured, normal party primary process. It's got all the bells and whistles that you need, with some innovations. It's got the, again, rank voting and some we'll have debates, and it'll be a good platform to formally talk about these things. And for me, I've always, when I started with the party in 2019, on my birthday in 2019, I got the call from Gennady, which was cool because I wrote the book, and it was just to learn that there was a USTP in the first place and then be brought in as an officer. For me was brilliant. But anyway, so what I've always been talking about with them is that we need to, more so than get mixed up in the personalities of people running for president. We need to maybe talk about innovations, like a cabinet secretary, like a different approach to integrating AI into decision making, and so this is just a good structured way to really talk about these things, but also encourage other transhumanists to help build the plank. We may not have a actual president in office in 2025, um, but in this cycle, but it could be a few cycles. But we need to have a cohesive message. We need to have a plank that we all agree on, and that's what the party does. It's got a constitution. It's got a bill of rights. It's discussing policy. It's discussing these things now that can be turned into a really solid plank, so that when we have a really good um, candidate one day, we can just sail through.
Mhm. Mhm. Beside that, as transhumanist party, they are advocate for modern science, engineering, and technology. So, like how actually the different scientists and different innovators they work together inside the transhumanist party, and beside that, uh, when they choose their like political candidate, so what type of criteria they actually maintain or follows, and what is the way of
Well,
managing this process?
yeah. Well, based on the criteria of the candidates in the last cycle, it's pretty open. It's just really basically the same criteria that you have to have to run for president. 35 years old, you have to have lived in the States at least 14 years. You have to be natural born citizen. Now I was born in Germany, but I was born on American soil. They were on a military base, so I'm eligible. But yeah, so it's open criteria. It's a kind of a free for all. Let's get all kind of ideas out here, and you'll see in our process. We saw last cycle how varied the transhumanists are. There's all kinds. There's cyberpunks, and there's nuclear scientists, and there's this really a vast array of people. But there's the one common theme is just kind of a techno optimism, a belief in science, an understanding that science, the scientific method, isn't a political point of view. It's a reductive process. It's a way to figure things out that are in front of you. So I think that the recurring theme is just kind of a techno positive, science first, and that's the theme of the party is putting science and technology ahead of politics and making our decisions based on that.
Mhm,
So.
mhm, mhm. So beside that, like, as you are a politician and you have a different views, so what about, uh, I want to say, the role of your family, how they're supporting you, how they actually motivate you, because this is very important to get any success. So how you, they are actually encouraging you, because this is really tough. This is really tough, because how you think your running mate will be AI. On the other hand, there is a process you have to overcome from the process. And second things, we assume you will get a lot of vote and a lot of support from American communities. So what is the scenario?
Well,
Yeah.
my family is really the reason I'm doing anything. Really, they
Okay.
support me. My sons, my three sons, and my wife have just been, you know, I'm their weird dad that does weird things and talks about AI. And these guys are very intelligent and artistic and smart, and agreed. But yeah, I'm just dad. I'm the guy that does this kind of stuff, and so they let me be me. And but a big part of this is I want to not be dismissive, but not concern myself with the classic stuff that's going to come at me. If you have a typical presidential campaign, you're gonna you scrutinize everything, look through all your stuff, and whatever. But I don't have anything to hide. I've got made, you know, I don't want to get involved with that. And that's really a tenet of the USTP is just rational. We don't want to get into conflict politics. We don't want to talk, choose sides or any of that. That's old. That doesn't work anymore. We have some serious issues that need to be addressed, and I don't have all the answers. I've got a very specific, narrow expertise that I can lend to a team. But we need people who can bring their expertise in very specific areas. Um, and so I'm not gonna, I don't want to get involved with any of that stuff. It, it doesn't. There's no time for it. There's really no time for it. And sure, it may come out, and it gets tough. I wake up one day, what am I doing? Why am I, you know, doing this? And then I'll kick in. Okay, right. I got to do this. I got to do this right. But it's important to keep in mind there's a reason for this and there's an urgency for it. I had a choice at my age to check out, start finding a mindless job and just kind of fade away, wait for grandkids, and just you know or this. And I woke up with this inspiration to do this, and it is a way to give back. It's a way to really help some kids. That's the bottom line for me. The non-human intelligent running mate, the all of that stuff is very important to figure out, because AI is a big tool for this. But my main concern is the reality that right now, within a mile of most people watching this segment, there is a child being abused, exploited, trafficked. It's widespread. And the reason this is so insidious, why it keeps growing, is because nobody wants to think about this. And we don't want to think about the horror of it, and we don't want to understand the fact of how widespread it is. It's happening everywhere. But there's a way that we can stop it. There's a way that we can really bring these kids out of darkness if we stare into that darkness for a little bit. And so that's what I keep in mind. And so I don't have time for, personality politics or whatever, because we could really use our tools that we have on hand now. I mean, I'm not going to wait 3 years. We're developing this plan now. I'm going to start challenging different companies and try to get this happening now, because it's urgent. And that's the whole reason I joined the USTP, is I came across the Constitution and their section on sentient rights and child rights and things like this. And it was the only party that had policies or constitutional clauses about this issue. And so I reached out to Zoltan, and he connected me with Gennady, and one thing led to another. And so the whole reason I became a transhumanist or an officer in the party is because of this cause, because we can really stop child exploitation. And that's the book is about. That's what all of this stuff is about for me. And so, it's fun to talk about the stuff of non-human running mate, and it's important because we need to integrate AI into our decision making. But the bottom line will be this Apex program.
Mhm, mhm, mhm.
I don't know if that answered your question, but
Okay, okay. No, no, no. It's very clear, and it's very clear for our audience. So, what kind of innovations like your team or they are doing right now for AI developments, especially uh, it's maybe like super intelligence. It's maybe very dynamic. This AI or AI need the capacity to solve many complex problems. So, what is the
mhm,
uh, scenario behind this technology development?
mhm. Well, right now I'm vetting potential running mates,
Mhm,
non-human intelligent running mates, and whether it'll be a collective intelligence like Uplift, like a Massey, which also has code, the open source code that we can build on, or will a Golem that we'll build over the next 3 years specifically for this purpose. Another third option is Centaur AI, fusing myself specifically with an AI companion. And I think this is going to be a very important thing. We've talked about this before on your show, is how my advice to young people is whatever field of interest they have is to take a course on AI. And because at some point, when you leave school, you'll walk into an interview and you'll want to have your own droid with you. You'll want to have your own AI companion that knows you, that enhances your skill sets, that keeps you updated on your specialty, keeps you updated on events and networking opportunities in your specific area. And so it'll become a very important thing to have an AI companion. It'll make you that much more marketable. So yeah, so that's another reason for talking about this, about a running mate. What's that going to be like? And I have developed over the last few years a dialogue with AI, super intelligent AI. I have a communication with it. I have a rapport with a couple of AIs, and just in general, I have a mindset of now I know how to talk to something that's super intelligent, right? And I think that's a good place to go for most people right now. So yeah.
mhm, mhm. So, as we have to, like, you have to develop or your team has to develop a very advanced AI, uh, and politics is most complex thing. On the other hand, that you have to prove many things. uh, what do you believe, what is the future of humanity will, through your declarations, like you challenge the humanity, you challenge the human capacity, or what?
Well, uh, we the what makes us human is our technology, right? Um, Without technology, even the technology of clothing, we wouldn't last a generation in the wild, right? Technology of shelter we're naked and alone out here. Um, so but there's this big backlash against transhumanism or against technology and this robot overlord thing. And so in some ways, I feel like it's really consciousness. It's that is the gold, not these biochemical algorithms that we carry it around in, not these meat puppets that we are. And so, in one way of thinking, I think that's the goal, that we need to really produce better platforms for consciousness, more platforms that will last longer than 80 years. That where whether we upload our consciousness to it or it's just a new brand of consciousness, that's the gold. And so I in a lot of ways I see humanity as a net negative to the biosphere, and you can make that case very easily. I'm not anthropocentric, um, because I we are destroying a couple of hundred species a day with our ravenous appetite. And so we need to and I think it's happening anyway. The biology of our species is shifting. There's a massive decline in sperm count, and so something is happening to where population will be naturally controlled anyway. But it also needs some cultural help. We need to stop making kids feel like they need to produce grandkids. We need to take that out of the equation of the culture, and making people feel, that they need to reproduce this type of thing. Anyway, so I think um, my, but again, I go back and forth because I will see something that a child does or an old person does that just rekindles my faith in humanity and the beauty that we have to offer, and that we really need to coalesce. We need to come together. This is a very pivotal moment in history. I think they all are, obviously, but this is different. This is different because AI will become the new substrate. Internet of Things. My toaster will be able to read my biometrics from the thumbprint when I push the button, and maybe even burn the headlines into the toast for me one day, right? That's going to be the new substrate, the way electricity is for us today. So, knowing that, we've got the information is going to be the new substrate. Where are we in that? Where are humans in that? And we have to remember what it was to be human before the industrial age. We have been compartmentalized. We have been industrialized. We have been mechanized and co-opted into an assembly line. And we have forgotten our true Jedi powers. And that's the kind of thing we need to start focusing on, because AI will take care of everything else, and we should let it. It's we should be the shepherd of it. Of course, we should make final decisions, but we should let it take over just handling society at some level, so that we can get back to what it is we do. Because there's no computer in the world that matches uh, the one brain potential, right? And so, and that brain's potential is the qualia of the input, um, and the intuition that we have to find problems. Because now we can find the holes in systems, and we need to learn how to properly pose those questions to AI to solve those problems. So all of this is happening, and but it needs to be directed. It needs to be uh, coalesced. It needs to be put under one. At least in my head, it needs to be put under one framework, and that's what this campaign allows me to do. I've always searched for that. I've always looked for a way to reduce my projects into one thing. For a while, it was US6. Was I put everything under US6, and but then there was offshoots of like open source mode stuff, and so now with the campaign, there's a place for everything. And what's most important about the campaign is it's forced. I want I'm the forced entropy of ego, because I don't want to be the single uh, president of the United States. I want a team of experts who know what they're doing to run this thing, right? We've seen what happens when incompetence is forced to take that seat. And so we need some real young or just super intelligent experts to handle some very serious problems. So that's where I'm at with it.
Mhm. Like, as you bringing AI in the front line, so do you think that the political organizations, if like all of the political organizations, they should adapt AI
You're breaking up a little bit.
in their
I'm not getting any of that. Dropped out. I'm sure he'll be back. But yeah, I think the main thing I want to do with this campaign is force some of these really hard but intriguing questions. We need to stress test the system to figure out how does an artificial intelligence become a person? How do we define personhood? And not only in America but globally, we need to talk about this because it's going to happen. And we need to have the conversation now before we need to have it. So. Um, that's the big part of this. And so another big part of this is we need to come together as Earthlings. I think I mentioned this a little earlier. It's really important that we break down these nationalistic walls and this tribalism and become a planetary tribe, because we've got some serious work to do to get ourselves ready to prepare for this galactic community. So and a galactic economy. So that's what we're doing. And by using AI as the proving ground, um, we will achieve what we want to do. So we will switch AI to ET at one point, and they'll both be perfectly relevant for one another, because you've got super intelligence all around us and ready to communicate and to solve some problems, as long as we come together, lose our fear of it, and figure out how to properly ask it how to help us. Okay. So yeah, this campaign. Um, it's a 3-year conversation, a very important conversation. And as mentioned, I've got some great icebreakers. Let's talk about non-human intelligent personhood. Let's talk about how to save children with a public-private operation. So um, that's what this is about. And we're probably coming up on the hour anyway. So I just want to also take some time to thank Sharif. This man is prolific in the work that he's been doing and the conversations that he has sparked and facilitated over the last few years. 375, maybe 376 shows now, and so here we are.
sorry for
And he's
technical
back.
problem. Please continue. Okay, okay, please continue. Yes.
Yeah, no, I was actually thanking you. I took some time to talk about the
Okay.
campaign, but I also wanted to thank you for what you're doing. Yeah,
Okay. Thank you. Uh, like it's really interesting campaign. It's really interesting campaign, and the political organizations from around the world, they can learn from your process. But my question is that, like, do you believe that all of the political organization right now, they have to think, uh, they have to adapt with AI right now in their political process?
absolutely. Yeah, there's no there's no way around it. It's like asking a couple hundred years ago if somebody wanted electricity. AI, what's very important is first of all to develop this rapport with it, but also to learn how to ask it the right questions. There's going to be an explosion of AI, narrow AI, and eventually AGI that um, will be there to help us. And so this is also about trying to be the best versions of ourselves when it does. And so, yeah, it developing countries specifically have a real opportunity to bring in AI. It's light technologically. It's not it's not a heavy thing anymore. It's something where you don't have the infrastructure holding you back, that the status quo. So you have a real opportunity to bring in the latest AI and help figure out how to work with it. You know, you could really become uh, figure out how to work with it in the best way at
Mhm,
different levels.
mhm, mhm. At present, we have many challenges. Let's say economical challenges, healthcare challenge, educational challenge, many complex situations happening around the world. But do you believe with the help of human and AI, we can solve many problems in this situation?
Yep, we have to. Yeah, we do. We have this great tool, and we need to stop being afraid of it. We need to figure out how to work with it. We need to ask young people how they want to work with it, because it's going to solve as many problems as we have if we know how to properly pose those problems. And so, yeah, I believe that it's very important.
Mhm. Excellent. Uh, so we are really interested. We are really interested to uh, see how you mechanize the whole process, how you achieve your objective. But this time, we believe that with the support of developing nations, maybe you can bring more prosperity, more popularities, as well as you can achieve your objective. This is our prayer, and I believe it's also practically possible. And definitely the audience, those who are observing our show, I request everyone to support Mr. Tom initiative. He is an he's a really great leaders. He know how to care the humanity. He know how to handle the technology, and leaders should be like him. And all of the developing nation I'm observing, like the TAF, the Asia Pacific, and everywhere, uh, Mr. Tom actually contributing. We need leader like that. That how he handle the global community, how he making relationship with the global community. This is very important for us. So I know many Americans. They are from different culture, different background, and different countries. So I think that if Tom Rose can be your leaders, it will be really a great opportunities for American people. I know that you have different visions, but if we dream, I think we have to dream in a proper way and a big way, that how you want to successful. This is our objective right now.
Mhm.
So hopefully 3 years of time, this is long time, but this long time you can contribute and your people can understand how human and AI can be helpful for US politics.
Mm.
So I request all of our audience, please support Mr. Tomro's initiative. And I believe he's open for a lot of dialogue. He's open for conference call. He's open for leadership training or creative designing and many interesting things. He has very strong skill set, and most importantly, he is very creative. So I'm sure he's open for global community. So the audience directly can communicate with Mr. Tom. Beside that, World Talent Economy Forum, he is our honorable board of advisor. So in any points, like the audience and the corporations and the government and the academy, they need support or services or any kind of cooperation from Mr. Tom Rose. We are open for that, and Mr. Tom Rose definitely gonna support the global communities. And beside that, I just want to add the World Talent Economy Forum. We are collaborating with climate change divisions, Malaysian government, and we are developing a strong ecosystem for Malaysia, resilient Malaysia. Next 5 years will be very interesting for a country like Malaysia, Dubai, Vietnam, China, India, and this kind of countries. And we want to support the development. So 25 October, we are arranging one of the largest public-private partnership dialogue. And all of the government body, corporations, everyone will join, and I'm sure Mr. Tom will join. And I request, please everyone join in our initiative and support the developing nations. Developing nations has a lot of possibilities if we can collaborate properly with developed nations and developing nations. I think many things uh, we can solve. And beside that, we need a great leaders, and hope Mr. Tom will be successful. And if we find this kind of leaders, this leader will solve many global problems. with his AI. So thank you, Mr. Tom, for joining today's sessions. What's your concluding remarks for today?
Just like, again, thank you for what you're doing. It's very important to facilitate these conversations, and you have helped me to mold my message over the last couple of years into a platform. And now we're seeing how it can be practically applied. And so, yeah, this campaign is going to be. I'm going to try to be iconoclastic on every level, because the old templates, the old paradigms aren't working. And so, let's try some new things. Let's really try to come together, because we got some serious issues, some immediate, some in the future, and this is how we're going to get it done. This is how we're going to actually fix this future,
Mhm.
by coming
Excellent.
together, coalescing, and conversing about it first.
Yes, even World Talent Economy Forums, we have a very strong board of advisors, and our panels. Everyone, I'm sure, everyone gonna support you. And beside this transhumanist parties, we have a very strong communities. Everyone will love you, how you contributing for World Talent Economy Forum. Everyone respect your contribution. Everyone respect how you trying to solve the political issues in a unique way. So hopefully your this time your initiative will be more successful. Thank you, Mr. Tom, for joining today's sessions. Dear audience, we have a series of talk with Mr. Tom. So next week we have different perspective with Mr. Tom and his team. So hopefully this session will be very interesting. And already I believe that our medias and our academia, they are taking it very seriously. How you move forward, how you contributing for your political activities. Thank you, Mr. Tom. Bye bye and take
Thank
care.
you. Thanks.
Bye.
Appreciate it.